Between President Trump and the president of Ukraine, with hundreds of millions in U.S. military aid being held. President Trump saying, "I would like you to do us a favor." Tonight, President Trump says they're working on learning who this whistleblower is, that he has a right to know his accuser. It is prompting security concerns for that person, whose attorney now says the president's own words are putting the whistleblower in danger. Congressional Democrats could meet with that whistleblower very soon. And late today, we also learned the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, has now been subpoenaed. His trips to Ukraine, his meetings that came before that phone call, drawing increasing scrutiny tonight. ABC senior White House correspondent Cecilia Vega leading us off.
Thank you very much.
In the Oval Office today, President Trump said his administration is working to learn the identity of the whistleblower whose claims led to that impeachment inquiry.
Mr. President, do you now know who the whistleblower is, sir?
Well, we're trying to find out about a whistleblower. When you have a whistleblower that reports things that were incorrect.
Tonight, the whistleblower's lawyer responding, saying his client is entitled to anonymity, adding the individual is not to be retaliated against. Doing so is a violation of federal law. But the president is ramping up his attacks, more than 80 tweets this weekend alone, including this one. The president saying, "Like every American, I deserve to meet my accuser." The whistleblower's lawyer says he has serious concerns about his client's personal safety, writing, "Certain individuals have issued a $50,000 bounty for any information about his identity." The lawyer mentioning the president's own caught-on-camera message to diplomats last week.
You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? With spies and treason. We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
House Democrats leading that impeachment inquiry say they now have a tentative deal to meet with the whistleblower. And today they issued a subpoena for the president's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, mentioned more than 30 times in the complaint, accused of pressuring the Ukrainians to investigate the president's political rivals. But Giuliani sending mixed messages about whether he'll comply.
I wouldn't cooperate with Adam Schiff.
So that's your answer. You're not going to cooperate.
I didn't say that. I said I will consider it.
You said you wouldn't do it.
I
You said you will not cooperate with that.
I said I will consider it. I have to be guided by my client, frankly.
Today, in an inflammatory tweet, the president quoted a supporter who said impeaching and removing him from office will cause a civil war-like fracture in this nation from which our country will never heal. It prompted a rare rebuke from a fellow Republican. Congressman Adam Kinzinger fired back, saying, "I have visited nations ravaged by civil war. I have never imagined such a quote to be repeated by a president. This is beyond repugnant."
Cecilia Vega live at the White House tonight. And Cecilia, several developing headlines. The New York Times tonight now reporting about a new phone call between President Trump and another foreign leader, as you know. According to the Times tonight, the president recently asked the Prime Minister of Australia to help Attorney General Bill Barr investigate the origins of the Mueller probe. That story is developing. And you know, Cecilia, the question emerging is, was the access to the transcript of that call restricted as well? And in the meantime, you've also learned the Attorney General William Barr is just back from Italy tonight. What was he doing there?
Yeah, David, busy evening here. A source is telling our team that Bill Barr went to Italy last week to meet with senior intelligence officials there as part of the Justice Department's investigation into the origins of the Russia probe. Look, nearly 3 years after this election, this is something President Trump is still fixated on, but David, Democrats are likely to be enraged by this. They will see this as an example of President Trump using his office to advance his personal political gain.
Cecilia Vega leading us off on a Monday night. Thank you. And next this evening, the fate of a former Dallas police officer who shot and killed her neighbor in his own apartment is now in the hands of the jury at this hour. What the judge has now told the jurors. And here's ABC's Marcus Moore from Dallas.
Tonight, prosecutors pleading for justice.
This is not one of those things where you could just say, whoops. Too bad for you, buddy.
The defense begging for mercy.
She has to make that split-second decision. And this time it ended in tragedy.
But it's the words of the 31-year-old former Dallas police officer herself during this 7-day trial that may weigh most heavily on jurors.
I hate myself every single day.
Amber Geiger claims she mistakenly walked into Botham Jean's apartment last year thinking it was hers. This dramatic body camera capturing the moments after she shot him. She claims she feared for her life.
I yelled at him. It's like, let me see your hands, let me see your hands.
But prosecutors citing neighbors who say they never heard verbal commands.
One of them heard you say that.
I can't tell you why.
Well, it's because you didn't say it.
Today, prosecutors reasserting that Geiger was distracted that night, sending racy messages to her former partner who was married, and then she missed obvious signs that she was on the wrong floor.
He is sitting on his couch eating ice cream.
The defense highlighting dozens of other instances where residents made similar mistakes.
There are no winners. A wonderful human being has lost his life.
And Marcus Moore has been on this case from the start. He joins us live. And Marcus, the judge saying the jury can now consider the Castle Doctrine, which, as I understand it, is similar to the Stand Your Ground defense as they make their decision.
It is, David. The Castle Doctrine is basically a self-defense protection for someone inside their home. And prosecutors have argued, how can an intruder use that law to justify shooting a homeowner? The jury is expected to continue its deliberations in the morning. David.
All right, Marcus, thank you. Next tonight, that major winter storm now moving east after dumping up to 4 feet of snow in the mountains of the west. The governor of Montana now declaring a winter storm emergency. That storm now triggering flood threats in the Midwest as record heat moves up the East Coast. Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, of course, tracking it all for us tonight. Ginger?
David, from Appleton, Wisconsin to Huntsville, Alabama, record highs were broken today, and we're going to see several others. Look at the flash flood watches, though. That is the imminent threat from Wisconsin back to eastern New Mexico, where tomorrow morning the skies will start opening up. You could see 2 to 4 inches fall very quickly there, and some of the burn scars are the concern. But Iowa to Wisconsin by tomorrow night, you get up to a half foot locally. Now, that cold front also acts as the dividing line between winter and summer. 38 the high temperature tomorrow in Billings, Montana, 97 for Nashville. That same heat settles in here on Wednesday, October 2nd. It'll be 93 degrees for Philadelphia, David.
Wow, incredible, Ginger, thank you. We're going to turn next here to the mid-air emergency involving the casing on an engine on a United flight from Denver.
The school district says it's not at liberty to make any statements, but counseling was provided for students.
The ultimate message here is that the bullying, cyberbullying, it's got to stop. I mean, it's an epidemic now.
Being gay shouldn't be a death sentence, Josh Smith wrote on Facebook.
We're going to do everything possible to save the next kid, and the next one, and the next one.
Channing's family and friends are meeting tonight to plan their next steps. Kate Snow, NBC News.
If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Now to the trial that has captivated the nation. A former Dallas police officer accused of murder after shooting and killing her unarmed neighbor inside his own apartment. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez is at the courthouse where closing arguments wrapped up today.
The children screaming about the way she was driving. They believe she was drunk, and one boy calling 911. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, the bus driver heard in this newly released surveillance video,
I yell and scream and ah!
is out of a job. Children on this bus say it was a terrifying ride home. Police say Longview, Washington school bus driver Catherine Macarone was drunk behind the wheel.
I love life!
And that 48-year-old Macarone was yelling incoherently on and off even before she picked up children.
My marriage sucks, and my husband is a son of a gun.
One of the scared students on board calling 911 after getting off the bus.
The bus driver, Catherine, she was drunk. She passed 3 red lights.
Police tracking her down, charging her with DUI and reckless endangerment. David, Macarone pleaded not guilty to the DUI charge and told police she takes both sleep and anxiety medication, and she says she did not run those red lights. She has since resigned from her job. David?
Kana Whitworth tonight, thank you. Next this evening, an unexpected confrontation during an award ceremony honoring a sheriff's deputy in Florida. A city official, a commissioner, saying to that deputy when he came to the front of the room, "Do you remember falsely arresting me 4 years ago?" Here's ABC's Victor Akendo.
This South Florida award ceremony honoring Deputies of the Month quickly turned into a berating that's gone viral.
Joshua Gallardo, you come down for a second?
Tamarack City Commissioner Mike Gellin called Deputy Joshua Gallardo over and leveled a public surprise over a prior confrontation.
It's good to see you again. You probably don't remember me, but you're the police officer who falsely arrested me 4 years ago.
In 2015, Gellin said he was recording on his cell phone as officers tried to break up a fight between homeless men. In his report, Gallardo said Gellin repeatedly ignored commands to move from the crime scene. Deputy Gallardo took him into custody for resisting arrest without violence. Gellin said the state attorney reviewed the cell phone video, then dropped the charges.
You're a bad police officer and you don't deserve to be here.
A stunned Deputy Gallardo appears to smile, then give a thumbs up before leaving. The mayor said she was completely shocked. The Deputies Association called the commissioner's actions outrageous, but Gellin says he just doesn't want anyone else to go through what he went through, or worse. David?
Victor Akendo reporting from Florida. Next tonight, the FBI arrest and the hidden camera in a hotel room. The U.S. citizen now under arrest, and what the FBI says he was there to get and to send back to China. ABC's Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas with the FBI video from that room.
You're watching a covert counterintelligence operation targeting China. FBI undercover cameras secretly recording in this Georgia hotel room. The FBI claims Edward Pong, a naturalized U.S. citizen, has come to this hotel to pick up classified information to send back to China's spy agency, the Ministry of State Security. What Pong doesn't know, according to the FBI, is that he's been set up by a double agent working for the U.S. government. Watch closely. The FBI says Pong is taping a white envelope containing a $20,000 payoff in the top drawer of that TV stand.
The double agent would retrieve the key, retrieve the cash, and tape the SD card to the same place where the money had been left.
Pong later returns to pick up the SD card containing classified information, authorities say, for delivery to Beijing. Pong's alleged cover working as a tour guide and sightseeing operator in San Francisco. He's due in court on Wednesday, charged with acting as a foreign agent. He could face up to 10 years in prison. David?
Pierre Thomas with us tonight as well. Thank you, Pierre. And next to Somalia and the attack on a U.S. military target. The terror group Al-Shabaab claiming responsibility tonight for 2 attacks. One of those attacks on a U.S. training site involving car bombs and a gun battle. U.S. airstrikes then taking out 10 militants, but officials say there were no U.S. casualties. The militants also targeting a convoy of Italian peacekeepers with a suicide attack. Those peacekeepers also survived. Here at home tonight, Republican Congressman Chris Collins from New York is stepping down ahead of an expected guilty plea in an insider trading case tomorrow. Collins is accused of sharing inside information, in fact, from a biotech company that he served as a board member for, and then selling his own stock before it tanked. Collins won re-election despite the scandal, calling initial reports of insider trading fake news.
He was one of the first ones that endorsed Trump towards becoming president.
On World News Tonight this Monday, the deadly plane crash, the rescue efforts right after. The plane going down in the woods, erupting into flames, and then you can see the deputies on foot rushing to the scene of the burning wreckage, trying to save the passengers. There's also news tonight about the police officer shot and killed here in New York City. The officer struggling with an armed suspect. Authorities today revealed it might have been friendly fire after several officers opened fire. And tonight, the confusion and new concern over Zantac. Why have Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS pulled Zantac off the shelves? The fears over a possible carcinogen, and what you need to know. A lot more news ahead here tonight. Stay tuned.
Wow.
Was getting Geico to help with our renter's insurance.
Yeah, switching and saving was really easy.
It's really gone
Tax
AWOL.
And be deadly, especially for those with a chronic medical condition. That's why there are higher strength flu vaccines for seniors. Ask your doctor.
This hit are mostly in retail, banking, and restaurant chains, since they have large workforces of lower paid workers, or they have operations in developing countries. Now, McDonald's would pay an additional $110 million in taxes last year under the plan, while Walmart would have had to pay an additional $800 million, and JP Morgan Chase would have paid $1 billion more in taxes. Now, some of the other companies with large pay gaps include Chipotle, Coca-Cola, Dollar Tree, Kohl's, and The Gap. Now, some market strategists say the plan is more political than practical.
There's a difference between campaigning and governing, and from a campaign theme, it fits very well in this theme that we were talking about, income inequality, CEO pay. I think as a practical aspect, it would be very difficult to implement.
Well, the tax is made possible by a recent SEC rule that requires companies to disclose the pay gap, but there are no set rules for how companies have to calculate the median pay. So like any tax, companies would probably find ways around it. For Nightly Business Report, I'm Robert Frank.
Four Industries drops the hammer, and that's where we begin tonight's market focus, with the RV maker topping analyst profit expectations thanks to lower costs in North America, but the company missed on revenue due to sluggish sales. But investors seem to be focusing mainly on that bottom line number. The shares jumped nearly 16% to $56.64. Cal-Maine Foods says an extreme drop in egg prices hurt the egg producer's sales, which led to a bigger loss than Wall Street expected. Egg prices have dropped by as much as 40% in the past year, due mainly to an oversupply that started in early 2018. Cal-Maine stock dropped about 12% today at $39.96. And Seattle Genetics says that data from an early-stage bladder cancer drug test showed about a 70% overall survival rate when it was combined with Merck's Keytruda. And Wall Street noticed as multiple brokerage firms today raised their price target on that biotech company, and shares rose more than 12% to $85.40.
Should consumers take away?
This can be really confusing, Nora, but it's really critical to point out loud and clear that these are not official guidelines, nor are they endorsed by any government or health body.
Patients, but they advise patients who wish to stop using Zantac or its generic versions, talk with your doctor about other alternatives. And customers who purchase the drugs from Rite Aid, CVS, or Walgreens, David, can receive a full refund.
But as you said, check with your doctor.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. When we come back here tonight, more on the New York City police officer shot and killed, news about how the officer was killed coming in, and then that deadly plane crash going down in a heavily wooded area in a moment.
With laser-measured floor liners and cargo liners, bump step, plus the cup phone to secure your phone, seat protectors, or no-drill mud flaps.
Squeezed. Technically, by appearing in this interview, we could get in a lot of trouble.
Molson Hart has been selling toys for almost 10 years.
This is another one of my favorite guys. This is Shlomo. Shlomo the sloth.
Stuffed animals, a construction toy called Brain Flakes, even kickboards. Where does he sell all of this?
Definitely Amazon by far. In 2008.
It's easy to move forward when you're ready for what comes next. At Fidelity, we make sure you have a clear plan to cover the essentials in retirement.
Consumers.
Freedom Unlimited card every time I get gas.
Then Amazon will actually suppress our listings in Amazon search, which tremendously hurts sales. So what do? We actually end up raising prices on our other marketplaces to match Amazon.
That caught the attention of the FTC. An investigator reached out, and Hart spent an hour on the phone with him.
It's really hard to find someone who's willing to speak up about an issue when it comes to Amazon, because people are afraid to speak publicly.
Regulators appear to be casting a wide net. The FTC has reportedly reached out to Snap in its case against Facebook, and a source tells us the Justice Department has sent a subpoena to DuckDuckGo, a search engine that's trying to compete with Google. Other Google rivals, like TripAdvisor and Yelp, say they're finally being heard after trying for years to get the attention of U.S. regulators.
It can't just be sort of one squeaky wheel raising this issue. It has to be lots of players who are talking about these issues in order to spur the government to take action.
Google says its services help create more choice, not limit it. Amazon did not respond to a request for comment. For Hart, speaking out publicly violates his contract with Amazon and means he could end up suspended from the platform.
Going into Christmas, we're going to hit over $1 million, or at least get really close to it, in inventory. What happens to the business if we can't sell in November and December? We're a toy seller. What do we do with that inventory? It's going to be a really long haul from that point on if we were to get in trouble.
For Nightly Business Report, I'm Ilan Moy in Washington.
Twice by friendly fire while struggling with the suspect. Several officers firing their weapons. The suspect was also shot and killed. Officers saluting as an ambulance carried Officer Mulkeen's body to the funeral home today. Newly released images tonight of a deadly plane crash in DeLand, Florida. 3 people were killed when the plane went down in the woods. Deputies and others rushing to the burning crash scene. Witnesses report seeing the plane spiraling. The FAA and NTSB are both investigating. The game-changing decision for college athletes in California. Governor Gavin Newsom with LeBron James on the HBO show Uninterrupted, signing the Fair Pay to Play Act into law, allowing college athletes to earn money from endorsement deals and the use of their names. That puts the state on a collision course with the NCAA, which bars players from accepting any compensation. And a passing to note tonight, legendary opera great Jessie Norman has died. She was the winner of 4 Grammy Awards and the National Medal of Arts. A trailblazing performer taking the stage in major opera houses around the world. She was 74. When we come back, the homecoming moment seen by millions.
WeatherTech is known for providing
Nearly a month in the NICU. It was a turbulent time for the star athlete negotiating a sponsorship renewal with Nike, requesting protections against punishment for not meeting performance goals in the months after childbirth. Felix says Nike declined, highlighting the issue in a New York Times op-ed, writing, "What I'm not willing to accept is the enduring status quo around maternity." Felix eventually securing a deal with Athleta. Nike later changed its policy, waiving performance reductions for a year after having a baby. Triumphs off and on the track, hard fought.
So special, you know. To have my daughter here watching means the world to me.
For this gold medal mom, perhaps the biggest win yet. Katie Beck, NBC News.
Up next, we've got a high school homecoming story I think you're going to like.
The ups and downs of frequent mood swings can plummet you to extreme lows, lift you to intense highs, or make you feel both at once. Overwhelmed by bipolar 1 symptoms? Ask about Vraylar. Some medications only treat the lows or the highs. Vraylar effectively treats depression, acute manic, and mixed episodes of bipolar 1. Full spectrum relief of all symptoms with just 1 pill once a day. Elderly patients with dementia-related psychosis have an increased risk of death or stroke. Call your doctor about unusual changes
To bring with you as you're filling out that form.
Make sure that you have your 2018 tax return. That's the one that they're going to be looking at.
Okay.
You need to have an ID that is an FSA ID that you get so that you can go onto the Department of Education website, your social security number, and then a record of your assets, your bank and brokerage statements. Know that your retirement accounts will not be counted for financial aid.
Sounds like so much fun. How is the information really used or processed to determine what kind of aid or how much aid you can get?
They use it to figure out your EFC, your expected family contribution, how much you're expected to pay for your child's education. And the key there is to make sure that you include your assets as well as your child's, and to know that your assets are not counted as much as your child. So when you're...
Find one you like, find out even more. So when it's time to buy, you know just where you stand. Go to Car Gurus today to find great deals from top-rated dealers near you.
Around here, to Consumer Cellular. Call, go online, or find us at Target. Averages were higher, and as for the quarter, the Dow and the S&P.
Lawn or cream?
Forecast. At BP, we see possibilities everywhere to help the world keep advancing.
Coming up on News 3.
Coming up at 6, I'll tell you which cannabis dispensaries are interested in setting up shop in Mount Vernon.
This hot weather will last into October, but it won't last all week.
Finally, the homecoming couple, America Strong. David Cowan and Cerise Garcia are high school sweethearts. The ice cream dates, watching the games in the stands. And when it was time for homecoming, the jitters, the anxiety, the pressure every high schooler feels. David walking up to Cerise in the middle of one of her cheers. It was game night, and there was a lot at stake. He hands her the balloons, the sign, and then, will you come with me to homecoming? She says yes, he kneels down, and they kiss. It didn't matter who won the game because David and Cerise had just won everyone's hearts. Cerise, holding that sign, Will You Be My Sunshine to Homecoming. The moment online now viewed nearly 4 million times. Wow. This weekend, the dress, the bow tie, the corsage, and Teresa's mother, so moved.
A lot of people have contacted us, called us, cheered them on because they're so cute together, because Down syndrome rocks, because even if they have Down syndrome, their love is like anybody else's.
Right. Inside the dance, that couple.
Not just known at Seminole High School, they are known now the nation over. David and Saris, please join me.
The entire Florida high school cheering them on. A homecoming couple with a lesson about love with no limits. It's for sure we needed that on a Monday. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
Need some help?